help me give a warm welcome to Distinguished Toastmaster Wayne Sebera.
One thing I've learned in Toastmasters is to quit while you're ahead, and after that introduction, I'm done. Hello Toastmasters, honored guests, distinguished Toastmasters. It is a pleasure to be here talking about officer positions and what it means. I did want to advise you a little bit of a sidebar we had just before this meeting with a couple of very, I was going to say extinguished, but I'll say distinguished executives from the district and from the International Toastmasters. And they advised me, you're going to do what? You're going to train all 7 officers in an hour? Why, that's normally an all-day event. That's normally a 7-hour training. Because why? 7 officers, right? So today we're going to take the Cliff Notes version of officer training. I'm going to give you the highlights. I'm going to point you to the references, and then we will have breakout sessions for a little bit of peer group Q&A. So you're getting a 3-part training. And there's really a 4th part, which is if you have any questions, any follow-up issues, any conflicts, anything where you need support, contact me or contact one of your officers in the district, the club, or the area. All of us are trained to support one another. As has been emphasized already, it's not about any one officer that makes this work. No, it's the team, the whole teamwork. And merely the officers are in their roles to provide focus, to provide a focal point for achieving certain of the duties for the clubs. So today we're going to talk about club officer success. And I wanted to begin with the theme, which is collaborative teamwork. Collaborative teamwork is the essence of what I think makes a club successful. Collaboration is essentially everybody working together, interacting with one another, drawing people's skills and talents to the fore, helping people when there's a challenge. Collaboration. What does collaboration mean to you? Anybody have a good example of collaboration?
Working together.
Working together.
On a common purpose or goal.
Working together in a common purpose or goal. Exactly right, spot on. If you look at this chart, the first 4 items, integrity, respect, service, and excellence. You'll find that on page 2 of your training manual because that's Toastmasters International values. Those are the values by which all of TI operates. Those are the values that we honor and treat. Now before this meeting I talked a little bit with George and he said, have fun. So I got fun on there too. I'm adding that as a value because it's true what he said. It's true what the participation was about. If we don't have fun in the meetings, what fun is that? Ask yourself that question. Integrity, respect, service, and excellence. Those are the key values that we follow as officers. This is an example of a page out of the High Performance Leadership. How many of you have done HPL? Anybody that's a distinguished Toastmaster has completed a High Performance Leadership. And if you look at the very front of the book, it describes what service leadership is about. Now each of our 7 officers follows service leadership, including vision and values, holding the vision, honoring the values, providing direction to the team, to the club, to the community. Persuasion. What's your style of persuasion? Do you say seductively, come on, I want to persuade you. You got to do this. It's your job. Why did you skip on it? What style of persuasion works the best? It's such an important attribute that the Competent Communicator Manual has it as project number 9, to be persuasive. Because as an officer, you're an officer and everyone in the club are what? They're volunteers. These are not your employees, these are volunteers, nonprofit. The only way you're going to get anybody to do anything is to show them, persuade them that it's in their best interest. All the officers are involved in that. Support is really key, and there's tons of support in this organization if ever you need it. development, the educational program, appreciation is paramount. How many times do we get a pat on the back? How many times do we get acknowledged for the good job that we did, or for the work that we went out of the way to accomplish? Appreciation is what gives everybody the little light in the lift. There's a document that each of the new club officers receive. It's called the Club Leadership Handbook. How many of you have your copy for the coming year? Let's see hands. Does anybody here not have it? Kevin, good, you brought it with you. Good man. This booklet has all the details of what I'm going to be briefing on, highlights. So it'll give you all of the information on the offices and the details of that. There's a second book here which is on the slide, the Distinguished Club Program and Club Success Plan. There's one copy of this in the information packet that goes to the president, who sits as chair of the Executive Council, and in it is the workbook to set up your goals for the year. So that's an excellent tool for you to use. How many of you have ever been in a septagon before? Septagon, I think it's called. Anyway, this is a seven-part geometric figure. You see, the officers are shown in each of the segments, each of the pie slices. We're beginning with the president, and going clockwise is essentially the accountability and authority level. So if the president is not able to attend, then the VP Education steps in, and so forth around the roll. Today, we're going to take it in reverse order for the training. I'm going to start with Sergeant at Arms and take you through each of the offices, looking at the duties and a little bit about what each officer does. Does that sound okay?
Yes.
Yes. Sergeant at Arms, the SAA. The Sergeant at Arms is the person who is the manager, the person in charge of the physical property, the logistics for the club, maintaining the club equipment. One of the things that we've noticed with the Ajou Club and the Supper Club is that we always have a changing venue. Every meeting is at a different location. And if you don't verify the verification of that meeting, you may not have it when you get there. In fact, a week or so ago, we were scheduled to have a meeting at the Junkyard Cafe in Simi Valley. Anybody been there? We arrived and found a couple of hours before the meeting that, oh, that room's not available. But we have another room that's huge, you're welcome to use it. So that's what we did. Sergeant at Arms needs to ensure that the accommodations are ready to go. The room is ready, the equipment is ready, all of the supplies and materials are ready. You need to do things in advance like repair your timing clock or order supplies. Those need to be done ahead of the meeting, well ahead. And shortly ahead, you want to arrange the room, equipment. Start the meeting on time. The Sergeant at Arms basically assembles the group and announces that introduces the president of the club or the presiding officer. And the president or presiding officer is the person that calls the meeting to order. The Sergeant at Arms has the wonderful opportunity to introduce the presiding officer. And we've seen some great creativity in these introductions, haven't we, Tim? Dan Collier is the Sergeant at Arms in the Elite Toastmasters, and when he introduces Wayne Choate every week, every meeting, you can't tell what's going to happen, but it's always inspiring and fun. Sergeant at Arms, if you can't be there, or if you have a duty that you can't fulfill, what do? You call someone else to substitute. You want to delegate it, you want to fill it in. How many of you either have been or are going to be a Sergeant at Arms? Let's see your hands. So if you look around the room, nearly, I'd say 2/3 of the room are involved in Sergeant Armory at some point. Who has the best tip for Sergeant at Arms? Bill.
Mr. Toastmaster, Sergeant at Arms, remember this, it's the most important job of the club.
Yes. Thank you, Bill. At the bottom of the slide, what does it say? It says you're a deputy to the VP of membership. You'll see this on every slide because every officer is empowered to assist with membership in the club. We all work on that. Success is a treasurer. Treasurer is the financial manager. in charge of all the fiscal property of the club. As a result, the treasurer is involved with paying the budget, paying the bills. There's 2 or 3 interfaces financially that the treasurer has to worry about. One is the interface with the members, because you're collecting dues, you're honoring any invoices or receipts. Number 2 is with the bank. You need to make sure the signatory card is current, that all the bank conditions are set up. And most clubs have an account with a bank that has no cost associated with it, bank or credit union. So all the clubs follow that. Some of us have credit cards to use. And the third interface, of course, is with TI International Headquarters. We try to pay the dues online and other purposes like that. Supplies and other equipment can be bought online from the store. Key dates are October and April when the dues are due. This is an income tax form. This is for the state of California, the 199N. The Fed is filed by TI. We're a nonprofit organization associated with that, so this is a tax form required. And be a deputy. The treasurer also has to keep the financial records, the checkbook, the register, financial reports, and the executive committee or the club typically will get a report, how much money is in the account, what are the outstanding debts or bills, where are we with member payments. Right now is a good time as we move from the past year to the new to do an audit of your finances. When's the last time your club did an audit? When the treasurer completes the year, we should close the books for the year. Then we hand it off to perhaps the new person or maybe a continuing person. But the idea is you want to at least once a year make sure that all the records are complete and accurate. Who has a good tip for a treasurer? Alan.
If your club can afford to set up a PayPal account, because a lot of people now like to use credit cards to pay for the membership, and you get to use a smartphone for that, so it's really easy to set up a PayPal account.
Thank you, Alan. Yes.
It's a good thing to go through and purge the records. When I took over as treasurer, I had records that went back to 1994.
Great.
And so
Everyone
half
here
of the records
comment?
went in the trash because you don't need bank statements that are 20 years old.
The comment was to purge the records after a period of time. You don't need those old records.
What is the time to keep them? That's 7 years, if I'm
You,
not
Is
mistaken.
it 10
you
years?
get a whole printout of that right off of TMI, off the headquarters. It's right
What
there.
records you should keep and you need to keep
Exactly,
them for 7 years.
everything and how long you should keep it.
Success as secretary. Now, this is similar to Secretary of Defense, Secretary of Commerce, Secretary of the Treasury. Secretary is in charge of recording all the minutes of the meetings, keeping track of the speeches, who did what. The Executive Council, the Executive Committee, there's decisions, there's actions. If you need to open a bank account, you need a record of the minutes from the executive meeting. The Secretary is in charge of all the record-keeping correspondence for the club. Some of the maintenance items for the secretary are these: the club charter and bylaws. Those are generally available online. If you want to look at the TI website, you can find out what your current bylaws are. I went back and looked at one of my clubs last year and was quite amused what was in those bylaws because they hadn't been updated for about 10 years. So it's a good time right now between administrations to go and look at your bylaws and see if they're current and consistent with what your club is doing. We heard a wonderful briefing about DCP reports. We want to keep track of where we are with that, so the secretary has certain information about that. Membership rosters, again, these are all online. You can get through the TI website. And it's important to keep the information current. The current addresses, email addresses, telephone numbers, are those current or are those from 5 years ago? If you're trying to reach one of the officers, you need to be able to have the right information. Here's part of Martha's question about timeliness. There's a 3-year requirement for correspondence and executive committees, and there's a 7-year requirement for bank statements, canceled checks, and financial information. Who is an outstanding secretary that would like to share a tip for the room?
I actually like putting all the secretary notes on the website so that any member can read it at any time they want. And same with the members too, keep a membership roster online, TI1 and a.
Everyone hear that? Can you hear in the back of the room? If you can't hear me, raise your arm. Vice President of Public Relations. This is the marketing officer, the manager of marketing and publicity. Here we publicize and promote the club creatively to targeted local community activities and media. For example, if you have an advanced club, your target audience would be people that qualify for an advanced club. You wouldn't necessarily advertise it in a local newspaper. But if you have a general purpose club, you might want to have a broad distribution of your information. Maintaining the club website, sometimes there's a separate webmaster that takes care of that. And Tim, would you say a couple of words about the website criteria that you've set up, that you're tracking?
Are you talking about the DC?
Yes.
Okay. For this year, District 33, and I'm the spearhead for that, we have a distinguished club website program. Has everybody that's heard of that already, raise your hand. So there are some of you that still don't know after a whole year about the DCWP. Well, what it is, it's a program for each club website that has 10 criteria for, well, actually there's 2 criteria for actually being eligible for the DCWP, and then 10 goals. And each club can become a distinguished, select distinguished, or a president's distinguished, have a club website that is those distinctions. And that program is going to continue into the next year. Some of the goals are going to be changed a little bit, but there's still a few days left for your club to become distinguished if it's not distinguished yet in the DCWP. This is separate from the Distinguished Club program. Does that make sense to everybody? Where can they find the information? Go to District 33, go to d33.toastmastersdistricts.org, and there you will find a link to go to the page that explains this whole thing. Or you can see me after this, during the next break or after this meeting, and I'll give you a business card, and you can email me, and I'll give you that information.
Thank you, Tim. Good job. We appreciate the leadership role you're taking on that and making sure that all the clubs have the full information. Thanks for that. The other ideas for PR deal with social networking sites. A lot of clubs now have Facebook, Twitter, other accounts, Instagram, participating on the social networks. So that's a good idea as well. And the last one is come up with some unique ideas for open houses. Open houses are when we invite guests that become potential members. The club meeting, we need to report on the publicity. Let the club know what you're doing in PR. Here's an ad we're going to run in the Acorn. Here's an ad we're running in the Ventura Star. This is a flyer we'll be putting out at a certain event, like the TLI. You may see some flyers around here. Report to the club on area and district events. A lot of the time the club members are unaware that there's an area contest coming up. Once we know the schedules and the topics, we want to publicize that within the membership. We want to listen for what's going on, for items that may appear in our newsletter. And what is this last one? It's okay to bring in new members, right? Deputy to VP of membership. Achieving success as the vice president of membership, vice president of friendship. Conduct ongoing membership building programs. TI really emphasizes this with the 3 different activities shown here, the Smedley Award, Talk Up Toastmasters, and Beat the Clock. These are all usually 2 or 3 month activities for building membership. And those are the times to really focus the club. There's special publicity and activity for that. A good goal for the club is to have 1 new member a month. You can keep that up, you have a great chance to achieve the 20 member